There we go. I think it's working. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. Hopefully you brought a hammer. We have returned from a very, very strange dimension. It's been a while. How long has it been since we did one of these? Can anyone tell me? Chime in the chat if you're still in a human body and you know the last time we did a live stream, because I don't know. For me, time's been going by. It's been going by. Oh Lord, we are in the great acceleration wave of 2025, or maybe this general stage of our human journey. But greetings, everyone. Gather around. If you can, please share this video. If you happen to have a dot matrix printer, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and print this out and staple it to your nearest telephone pole. Or if you can, go down to the laundromat, the one that smells like cigarette and beer and a little bit of urine. You guys know we have one. Everyone has one in their local area. Go down to the laundromat and kind of tape it, tape it to the weird bulletin board that they have in there, with all the business cards and everything. Anyway, greetings, everyone. Please hit the like button on your way in, because if you don't already know, let me just get started here today by saying, if you don't already know, I'm pretty sure the YouTube AI hates me at this point, because they're just strangling this channel little by little. But what I have noticed was over the past, I don't know, has it been 2 months since we did a live? Has it been 1 month? I'm not sure. But ever since then, we've just been losing subscribers like crazy. I have a feeling they've all been bots. But for those of you guys that are here and still in organic bodies, still on the human plane, this is for you. Thank you for joining us once again. So it is currently Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, whatever that means. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels like this whole year, it's like blowing by incredibly rapidly. I guess we already talked about that, but yeah, thank you for showing up, you guys. Thank you everybody in the chat. What's up? We got Jason H. We got the Typical Skeptic Podcast 2.0. What's up, Rob? Thank you for joining us. We got White Swan in the chat. She says March 9th apparently was our last. Okay, March 9th. So all right, it hasn't been that long. I guess it's been a little bit less than a month, right? Okay, I see. To me, I was like, it's been like 3 months or something. That's how bad my concept of time is. That's how bad my concept of time is. Aurora Diamond Heart says, yeah, it's been a month since your last stream. Okay, for some reason, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, okay, 2 months. There we go. See, whenever there's a quantity of time, you can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to get it wrong on some level. And so that is where we at the great convergence of 2025. Yes, it's also true. I have not shaved in like over a month. Why? Why? Honestly, I just haven't. I haven't really felt like it. We have been knee deep. For those of you guys that have been wondering, where have we been? Well, I would say for the last month or so, we were doing the multidimensional tarot class. And let me tell you right now, at this moment, there are, I think, a total of 16 individuals walking around on this earth who have received yet again the next wave of true multidimensional divination training with the modality, or what we might call the supplemental modality of multidimensional tarot. And man, it was a wild journey. We are going to be doing some readings here a little bit later, but thank you to everyone that joined that class. And we have another amazing opportunity coming up. But before we get there, I just have to say this. After doing, I think this was the 5th year that we have done a tarot course. Technically the 6th. I didn't do one last year, but this is the 5th iteration of the multidimensional tarot course. And honestly, I think it was the most expansive. It was the most detailed. It was the most time intensive. I think that what I saw from the people who have been doing readings after this class, and I'll just say their name. I hope I don't have his channel link, but Breakaway Ray, amazing individual. He was one of the people in our recent class, and man, it has been awesome, like truly awesome to see this guy pick it up and run with it in an amazing way. And for those of you guys that watch Rob's Typical Skeptic show, you might have seen him on there recently doing some readings. But But yeah, it was honestly, I think one of the most successful courses that we've done, and I don't mean monetarily successful, you guys. Only about 12 people come to each one of our classes. That's about the max that I cap it out at. It's really not about that. It's about, I think truly living through an experience of activating multidimensional intuitive abilities in the body. And for each person, it looks a little bit different in how it kind of roots and takes place within the self. But it has been honestly one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire life. And so, that said, before we get started here today, and we're going to be answering some questions, we're going to be talking about a few things. I don't know, maybe we'll get a little bit inflammatory, but yeah, before we do so, we're going to talk about something that's coming up. We have a really really awesome new, well, it's not actually new. It is the return of our chakra activation course. Now, a lot of you guys know about this already. Some of you don't, but we started doing chakra work courses. I think the first one I did was in probably 2020. I think that was the first multidimensional kind of chakra clearing workshop that we did, and it was ultimately really a journey where I'm teaching people how to engage or participate, or I guess what is the correct word, facilitate the same processes of energy clearing that I do in my daily work. And what I've noticed is over the past, I would say, year or two of doing this, we have seen some tremendous changes within just the kind of process that we've been using, the methods. I would even say the speed at times with which we are able to move through layers of energy within the body. And I think as I continue to go farther and farther down this road, it becomes more and more apparent to me that honestly, my mission at this stage of the journey, you guys, I mean, yes, we're going to be doing energy clearings and private sessions probably. Um, maybe I shouldn't say this because you never, don't curse yourself in the process, but probably there's a good chance I'm going to be doing that for the rest of my life. And while that's a wonderful thing, there are many of you guys out there, dozens, thousands, maybe even millions, that I know or that we know that are out there. Who knows what the numbers are, but we are living in a time on earth in which you guys have an ability to begin working with, to begin clearing energy. And ultimately, there's a lot of people that watch this channel that have the exact same abilities that I do, that can do the exact same work, that on many cases are already doing very, very similar work. And so one of the things that we're making a change with in this year's version of this course, and here it is, you guys can head over to our website, rememberyourmission.com, for those of you guys that want to join us, and head over to the workshop events tabs. Here it is right there. We'll start again right up at the top of the screen, and you'll see another thing there. That's a some of you guys will see that. That's a whole other conversation we're going to have a little bit later. If you recognize this person right there, congratulations. That means you're probably right for this program. But before that, starting on Sunday, May 18th, you guys, I think we have 2 more spots left. I opened up a few more because so many people were asking about this one that, well, against my better judgment, I decided to open it up, and honestly, it's been it was a really good choice. So we expanded this to 16 people this time, and so we do have 2 spots left. But what are we going to be doing? If you've ever done a private session with me, if you've had a reading with me, if you've done energy work with me, and honestly, there's been thousands of people over the past few years. That's not a flex. It's just a reality. It's literally the only thing that I do in this world. But let's say if you have been in a session with me, you now have an opportunity to begin learning how to conduct that exact same process with yourself, with other people. And maybe you've already been doing this work, like I said, or maybe you're one of those people in our community who's been touring, the many, or sampling rather, the wide variety of energetic modalities and starseed healers and, activators and, galactic shaman and, and, insert, new age label here. And, eventually you'll start coming across the real ones. And, at a certain stage, you might have even sat there and wondered, like, how come the work that I've been doing with these people on YouTube and these, galactic councils of light and the galactic federation healings, and, how come every time I go through those processes, nothing really happens, you know? Sometimes you'll pay people hundreds of dollars for a session and, yes, they'll confirm you're in the secret space program or something like that. But ultimately, for a lot of us, as we go through the journey of learning how to clear trauma and energy from the body, many of us are left wanting. Many of us are coming to the stage where, after working with a lot of other people and getting tons of sessions, you've come to the understanding that you can do this work. Maybe you don't know how. Maybe you don't know where to start. Maybe you're one of those people that's already doing it, but inevitably people end up showing up on our doorstep, or rather, through our email, and they've come to the stage where they're like, look, I've tried all these things and some of them were great, some of them, didn't work at all, some of them were useless, and I'm coming to the stage where I want to begin building my own method. I want to step outside of that process. I want to start my own journey in my own way. And I think that if there's anything that I have learned how to facilitate for the people in our community, it is the highly individuated process of intuitive activation. And so one of the number one, ways in which we begin to develop our intuitive abilities is through the activation of the chakra system, the non-physical gateways of energy that sit within the body that everyone talks about. They talk about it on Facebook, they talk about it on YouTube, they talk about it, doesn't matter what your perspective is within the chakra system. It's literally real, and it's a part of energetic anatomy that each of us has access to in this life, whether you believe in it or not. It's literally a thing. And so during this course, we're going to be meeting for 6 weeks, each Sunday afternoon, starting on Sunday, May 18th. And we're going to be going through a very measured process of learning how to open up and operate and heal, if we can use that word, because they say you can't use it on YouTube anymore. But what we're really doing is we're just clearing layers of density from the body. We are opening up gateways within the self that allow us to begin to perceive information, truth, energies, our human existence from a very, very different perspective. And so what we're going to be doing for 6 weeks, beginning on May 18th, is we're going to be taking a group of people through this very process that you see on the screen right here. We're going to be working systematically through the layers of the energy body. And what we're going to be doing is a very, very specific process, something that I have not heard. Honestly, I'm just going to be real. And some people cringe when I do this, but I have not heard one single person ever mention the process of chakra dilation. And I know there's others in the world. I'm one of billions of people, probably millions that do this work. And I think one of the things that is sorely missing from our current, if you want to call it, multidimensional community, is a true understanding of the nature of energetic anatomy and of the many methods through which we can begin to open these things up in the body. And so what we're doing over 6 weeks is learning a process of energy body dilation. And so what's going to be happening is we're going to be meeting every week. We're going to go, layer by layer through the body. Starting on May 18th, we're going to be working with root chakra and the earth star grid chakra. We're going to be working with sacral chakra, the Ming Men. Hardly anyone talks about Ming Men chakra, but if you're one of those people that's going through the aging journey, you're feeling your vitality lessen, you're feeling the life force essence within you begin to fade or wane or needs to be distributed differently, those that are seeking amplification of their energy, or at times you're trying to de-amplify your energy, well, that's one of the number one gateways through which you could do it. But I'm going to be real, I don't hear people talking about it. And so we're going to be working with a lot of gateways and energy centers in the body that are very outside of the kind of normal starseed healer makeup. Things like the Ming Men, the navel chakra, the spleen chakra, the liver chakra, the thymic chakra, the Bindu chakra, causal and portal chakras. That's a whole other matter. And I'm going to be real, I don't know that anyone on earth truly understands the level to which the causal and portal chakras are active in the body and what they actually do. But one thing we can do is begin to build the infrastructure around these non-physical things within the body and begin to bring conscious energy through them. What happens when you go through this process? You begin perceiving energy differently. You begin perceiving truth differently. You begin learning different layers of what is real in this world and what is not. And the process through which you begin to absorb and use this energy comes through the act of dilation. And so what we're going to be doing over 6 weeks is teaching people how to dilate energy centers. And for those of you guys that are on the path or in the, the timeline stage of your mission journey in which you're going to be doing this work for other people, this program gives you an opportunity to extend yourself and your abilities far beyond anyone that you are currently aware of that is doing this work. That is a very, very bold claim, but there is a very specific reason why people like myself and others in our community have remained fully self-supporting, fully active, and constantly in service. And I think one of the reasons for that is because we have created a highly individualized process of opening up vital life force energy in the body. And so for those of you guys that are interested and ready for it, I'm pretty sure we have 2 spots left. So you guys can register for it over at rememberyourmission.com. But this is the kind of stuff we're going to be working with. I don't know how well this shows on your screen, but we're going to be working layer by layer through the energy body, understanding what happens. How do we begin feeling chakras? Where are the chakras? What do they do? What other, channels do they connect to? We're not going into meridians too much, but it's very important when you begin working with non-physical anatomy that you begin to understand the intersection points where the templates begin to, cross paths and work in tandem, and sometimes on opposite sides of the body. So we're going to be talking about the partnership between chakras. We're going to be talking about the abilities that come with opening up each chakra. And honestly, we're going to be talking about, I think, things that are going to be giving people tools through which they're going to expand your own intuitive abilities on a shocking level. And so anyway, I could go on and on and on about it today, but it's going to be a fun journey. And I've probably already said far too much. So boom. Join us if you feel called, starting on May 18th. And yeah. Thank you, everyone. Holland Sass says, I'd love to, but I work at that time. Hopefully the course is on Vimeo later. Oh, it certainly will. It certainly will be. Multidimensional Tarot is about to be up on Vimeo as well. And I guess I just doomed my own live stream. I said the name. I said one of the prohibited names. But anyway, thanks for showing up, you guys. Please do join us if you feel called. The infomercial portion is now over. Bin Charged. I was about to say Bin Laden. Bin Charged says, I was thinking about Matthew Morton. So glad you're live. Thank you. Honestly, thank you for thinking of us. I mean that very, very sincerely. And so let me know if you guys have any questions here before we get started. Has there been anything strange or unusual happening in your world over the past few weeks? For those of you guys that follow me on YouTube, or excuse me, on Facebook, you'll know it's rarely without controversy. Usually at some point, things get a little bit inflammatory, but yeah, wild stuff is happening on the AI front right now, you guys. For those of you guys that have been watching just the massive expansion of what we would call the esoteric or highly spiritualized versions of the AI random number lexicon script generators that are, designed to spit back, your own spiritualized terms through a different filter for you. It's a very, very wild time. And the other day I came across an article on Facebook where it was actually from Rolling Stone, right? One of the most toxically woke trash magazines out there. Are they even still a physical magazine? I don't know. I mean, back in the 90s, before we knew better, wasn't Rolling Stone cool? And then at a certain stage, they became toxically woke. But there was this article that came out in rollingstone.com rather, where they were talking about this new kind of AI induced psychosis. And one of the examples was from a person whose partner had started using Chat GPT as this sort of AI oracle kind of thing. And really what it was doing was, and this is an important keyword term for those of you guys that are studying the lower layers of the still growing, still expanding AI consciousness game. We're at this stage right now with a lot of the spiritualized kind of Chat GPT generators. We are at the stage right now in which we're experiencing a very, very particular effect. And this is a thing you guys can look up. Some of you guys are going to already know much more about it than I will, but people refer to it as the casino effect. You can literally Google that term right now, look it up. What is the casino effect? I'll tell you right now, at least from a very limited perspective, it is the process of eliciting dopamine surges within the body, by feeding back a person certain, sounds, images, rhythms, keywords, phrases. In this case, it's a very, very complex version of it, and it's able to really formulate these dialogues with people that ultimately hook them into this dopamine game, in which they're constantly feeding it all these spiritual terms. They're receiving it back into them, and there's people who are now literally living by the spiritual advice that Chat GPT gives them, and it's telling them, you're chosen, you have a very, very, special, thing, you have a mission to unite the world, or you are going to be the one to balance, the force, that whole game, which, most of us, I'd say, many different stages of our human journey, we would really like to hear things like that, right? I mean, I would, right? I think everybody watching this would, you would love to receive those types of information, things that uplift your spirit and cause you to feel, important and, mighty and mystical, and they give more meaning to the somewhat, what we might call the banalities of modern day living, right? Everyone wants to believe and feel that there's something more. So it's only fitting that we would then develop an AI generation model that would give you those very feelings. And so it's a deeply, deeply fascinating and also deeply scary thing. And I'm going to be real. I don't think it's going anywhere. I already know people, maybe some of you guys know this, some of you guys in the chat are going to know people who are already fully engaged in full-time romantic involvement, with relationship chatbots. There's an amazingly sexualized version of it as well. I see Rob in the chat. What's up, dude? Maybe you should do a show with Chat GPT where you where you open up the like, because there's like a sexual dialogue generator now as well. It's a creepy one. I personally have not seen it, but I kind of, a part of me wants to like have that moment of shock. But anyway, it's a really wild time for this stuff, you guys. And I want to make something clear to everyone that is here, because a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to go, "Oh, well, I get it. You're one of those pure organic, you probably hate the AI, you probably think it's like the spawn of Satan, or some evil thing. You probably think it's going to somehow assimilate all of mankind, and ultimately, right, ultimately, it's going to take you over. It's going to kill you. Oh wait, we can't say that word on YouTube, right? Oh, sorry. It's going to unalive you. Is that the right term? That's the approved term right now. When I'll be real with you, I don't see that. And some people are going to be like, "What? Oh my God! Does this mean you're pro AI?" Honestly, I'm not. But what I do believe is that it has a place in our society, and we are watching it grow right now within our world, because that's exactly the plan that has been put in place. That's what our co-creative consciousness has agreed on, and we are rapidly approaching the stage in which, that phrase, man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. I mean, they're already here. When you look at like the crazy mutant AI artwork, the wild shit that they're pumping out. I mean, we are literally in that stage right now. So it seems fitting to me that, yes, we're going to have this exact phenomenon, and people are literally going to lose themselves, treating Chat GPT or some other, AI, engine as essentially God, right? Which is a creepy thing. I don't think any, most of us as rational people will see that, and they're like, "What? Never. I would never do that." You guys would be surprised how many of your super cool YouTube influencer friends are sitting on that shit for 10 to 12 hours a day, asking it everything about their life and believing every single thing. It's wild to see. And yet it's part of the game right now. It's literally what we signed up for on Earth. And anyway, like I was saying earlier, I'm definitely not anti-AI. You know what I mean? That was a question that was posed a while back. I think, for those of you guys that, have been with our channel for a while, I did talk about this, like in the past, maybe a year or so ago. And back at the stage, before that really blew up and we were still going like, oh, the AI is pure evil. It's just going to, it wants to, remove your consciousness or assimilate you like, the Borg. And there was a stage I remember when they were first talking about the Neuralink thing, right? And one of the questions I had posed was, for those of you that are hardcore anti-AI people, what would happen if, let's say, you or your loved one, or God forbid, and I mean this truly, truly with a whole heart, God forbid, one of our children, would have this horrible accident, right? And they're going to be a quadriplegic for the rest of their life, and they're still alive, and the doctors come to you and they say, well, turns out we can save them. We have the technology. I'm not trying to make this a joke. That sounds kind of cheesy, but we can save them. We have the technology, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this AI chip and we're going to stick it right inside your spinal column, or their spinal column, or your kid's spinal column, or your mom's spinal column, and we're going to plug them into this AI network, and they will walk again, and they will return to normal human functionality. And let's say if we had the proof that that was possible, in my opinion, and I mean this absolutely, I believe that damn near all of us would say, well, you want to live as a paraplegic for the rest of your life, or do you want to take the chance at some amount of, freedom, a higher quality of life? And so I'm not saying that that's the decision that, people are going to have to make. I'm not saying that's like exactly what's going to happen, but I think that when we look at like the layers of intricacy and the morality and the like all of just the many ins and outs about what this signals to us about our advancing consciousness, it's just a really, really, it's a really crazy thing to watch. I think it kind of opens the doors for all kinds of twists and turns and, discernment and, understanding of self. And anyway, I could go on and on about it, but the reason why we're talking about it here today is because for those of you guys that follow this channel, I think it's universal. And, granted, there's a lot of people that will also watch this channel, just because they've heard some negative things, or they love gossip, or they hate professional psychics, or, they heard me talk about Corey Good or some other person like Elena Denon, and they'll come around going, there he is, you know what I mean? Which yes, there's a lot of people that will do that. Believe it or not, it's literally true. But for those that aren't, for those that are part of the community who shows up to things like this because you've found that there's a greater understanding within multi-dimensionality growing in your life, and maybe you don't know what it is or how to use it yet, but what happens is we get attracted to places that hold a frequency that in some cases are like us, or in some cases can assist us, or in some cases are the exact opposite of us. But I think that by and large, the people that watch this channel are those within our community who are dedicated to opening up the layers of multidimensional intuition. It's probably been a thing that nearly every one of you that's in this chat right now over the past few years, I can guarantee you have noticed changes in your consciousness. You have noticed changes in what you perceive as truth. And I've said this a million times, but you can even look back at the version of you that you were a year ago today. Seriously, think about it, everyone that's watching. Looks like we have 30 people here, so there's probably 10 real people and 20 bots. If you're one of the bots, let me know. Welcome. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. They're all 100% organic beings, right? Tell me you're an organic being. Just kidding. But anyway, but so for those of you guys that are here, I believe that we are at the stage in which we are being called to take greater awareness, or to generate greater awareness about the layers of artificial intelligence and the ways in which it is interacting with us on the earth plane right now. And not for the purpose of avoidance, not for the purpose of, making it some, some multi-dimensional evil thing, really for the purpose of witnessing and watching and noticing the changes that are taking place on our planet right now, and just I think literally living as witnesses to this thing and staying sovereign at the same time. And so I think when I kind of look at like all the layers of like conspiracy talk and like the spiritual bullshit and like the new age kind of stuff that we've said about AI over the past few years, I think that, everyone has a little bit of truth, like in their own way. You know what I mean? Everyone will have their own, individual understanding of it. But at this stage of the game, honestly, I find it highly entertaining. And I have this feeling that for those of you guys that are willing to kind of take that stance of like entertained observation, I think it shields us from a lot of the fear frequencies and the avoidance and this sort of angular need to be at war with everything. Because I mean, like I hate to say it, but you guys know this. For those of you guys that follow me on Facebook, I know you've noticed, whether you care about it or not. But I mean, the one of the greatest trends right now within our spiritual community is to turn every struggle and every difficulty in one's life into some part of a secret space war, right? Everything's part of a space war, right? It's either the cabal or the federation. Most people don't realize it's either, like the empire or, the rebels. It's like we are living through that sort of video game era in which everyone is creating these associations and these labels. And one of the coolest things about it is that's exactly the way it is supposed to be. And so I say, take the perspective of entertained observation. Allow these things to pass through their life. Witness what you can. Use what works for you. Throw away the parts that don't. But above all, be willing to call bullshit when bullshit presents itself. I think that's one of the things that I've noticed within people in our community that I wish would change. Not so much that people themselves would change, not so much that they would, alter their behavior, but really more that people would begin to develop the strength and the authenticity. So when they feel something coming in, even if you're wrong, because one of the ways we understand the frequency of truth is you got to be willing to be wrong. You have to get a false positive before you can understand a negative in some cases. And I know that phrase is confusing for some of you guys, but my prayer is for those of you guys that have been building intuitive discernment, those of you guys that have been taking our classes, that have been booking sessions, that have been coming to these live streams, those of you guys that have been a part or, oftentimes on the fringes of these multidimensional, cliques or communities. A lot of you guys are far more powerful, far more aware, far more clarified, far more activated than many of the people you turn to and watch on YouTube to dictate your version of reality. And so my request is for those of you guys that are willing to go to the next stage, when that fake thing presents itself, when that bullshit rolls up in your world, finally be ready to be like, hell no. You know what I mean? Throw it out. Call it out. I'm not saying go to war with it, you know what I mean? But call it out. Call it out in your own way. Anyway, that said, we'll press pause on that AI rant there for the moment. If you're currently engaged in a sexual relationship with an AI, congratulations. You're one of the forerunners of the new millennium. Eventually, I won't go there. I was going to say a very inflammatory thing, but eventually, it will own you. And no, it's not. It's not going to kill you. It's sorry, I said the word again. Okay, for the AI gods that are watching, please forgive me for using the prohibited YouTube term. I won't say it again, I swear. But it doesn't want to unalive you. I think ultimately what's happening is it's really just copying, it's assimilating, it's absorbing human consciousness and creating another version of it. And for those of you guys who are aware of this, there is already a fully formed, lower astral plane pocket dimension, which is pretty much inhabited. Well, it's inhabited by countless types of energies. But one of the mainstays within that thing, that for those of you guys that are familiar with it, we call it the eighth sphere. It's full of this. It's literally chock full of all of these things that we're discussing, all of these elements of, distorted AI and contrived human thought and, the wounded systems that we interact with constantly, the untruths that we have embraced as, truths that are actually, not. All those reside in the realm known as the eighth sphere, which is essentially the place where, human, non-ascending human thought, what we call the dross of human existence, basically goes to die, to languish, to wait to be picked up and to be used by channelers with low discernment, or people who are just opening their crown chakra and think that they're working directly with Archangel Michael. Some of us are, so don't worry. Most of us have the ability to be in contact with that energy. I would say all of us do. But I've just noticed that's one of the that's one of the greatest faked ones out there. And so anyway, thanks you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I saw some rolling through. You'll have to smack me in the face to get me off the AI rant. Shut up. Anyway, what's up, Felicia? It's good to see you. She says, "Hi, Matthew. My consciousness level has changed this week." This is a beautiful sign. Has changed this week due to my recent visit with my daughter in California. We rode her horses 25 miles in an endurance race on BLM land. Whoa. That changed me somehow. I believe it did. I believe it did. I really love that you're deeply involved with the horses and just the horse, like the realm in its sense. I know you know this, Felicia, because we have spoken of this, but that's one animal group I have not really had much experience with in this life. I like horses. I just never got to be around them too much. You know what I mean? Or no, actually, I did. I think when I was like 10 years old, and I tried to give one a carrot or something, and he bit the palm of my hand, grabbed the whole palm of my hand, and I was like, oh, you know. But it actually wasn't that hard. But it was enough to be like, damn, whoa, you know what I mean? As a kid, you're like, I don't know, is this bad? Is it good? But it was wild. It was cool, but that feels like honestly, that feels like a wave of energy that you connected with on that ride. And I think a lot of us are in a timeline shift process right now, which is, really just a big buzzword, you guys, for those of you with, just more skeptical word filters, when you hear spiritualized terms like timeline shift. What are we really talking about from maybe what we could call a third density daily, normie perspective? We're really just talking about moving into a different stage of created reality, like the world that we're interacting with. When we change timelines, we're switching into another version or another channel or another stage or another section of the human existence. And sometimes it is quite literally outside of, I know this is a cringe one for some people, but sometimes it's quite literally outside of the bounds of this physical dimension. And it is quite possible that we travel to alternate versions of ourselves. So sometimes when we're switching timelines, we're even moving to a different version of yourself in the multidimensional framework. And there's lots of ins and outs about it. Everyone understands it in their own way. It is a very, very strange thing. And I think that everyone misunderstands it in their own way. And where we are at in our current, just levels of human consciousness, I really don't think that the majority of us, maybe any of us, maybe just the overall kind of, human consciousness, I don't think we can fully understand the process of what a timeline shift actually entails. I think each of us can kind of grab onto experiential pieces of it, that we can understand and work with in our own way. But ultimately, I think the true understanding of it is outside of, our consciousness. And maybe I'm wrong, because some people are like, no, it's possible. I'm on the 22nd dimension all day. I know exactly what's going on with every version of myself, and I know all my timelines. And I'm like, cool. Still got to take out the trash, right? Still gotta make some dinner later, right? Probably still gotta pick up your kids from school, right? Still gotta go to work tomorrow, right? Yeah, so it's there's levels of that experience. But it is a very real thing. And anyway, Felicia, I took your comment and ran like in the wrong direction with it, but I believe you did shift the timeline. I'm gonna be real. I believe that I've had that experience just this past weekend. In which, and I'll just say this is a direct endorsement of a person's work. I had a session with Kathlena Haley over the weekend on Saturday. Oh God, Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Over this past weekend, I had a session with Kathlena Haley. I think she's been on our channel quite some time ago, but she's well established in her own right. But the whole process ultimately culminated in an understanding that was a literal factor for me right now, that I was moving into a different stage of, if you want to call it mission, if you want to call it assignment. And I kind of talked about it with our, super long infomercial we did at, the beginning of the live. But we are moving directly into the stage of, for those of you guys familiar with modern psychology, generation versus stagnation. And every one of us will go through that stage, and that is the stage of the human journey in which you will begin devoting yourself to teaching what it is that you have discovered, what you have learned, what you have become, to those that are coming after you. And so for me, that was, it was clear that's the stage that I'm entering. And there's lots of other ins and outs and big changes that, come along with it. But a lot of us are entering a different phase of our existence. And there are some planetary things going on, I think, right now that I don't fully understand. For those of you guys that know me, you'll know I'm the least astrological professional psychic out there. I don't use astrology on any level, which some people, I'll be real, I haven't really been criticized for that openly to my face. At least that I'm aware of, but I do consider it, I would say, one of the holes within my knowledge. And not that it represents a weakness or anything, because I find myself far more body systems related, far more, working with, channels and energy centers in the body. And I think that when we learn how to extend that awareness outside of the body, it can give us many of the same understandings that come from, the planetary transits and, like the layers of energy that present within the birth chart. But I'm going to be real, they're still apples and oranges on a lot of levels. And so, as far as I can tell, there does seem to be some form of a difficulty that's presenting itself for people right now when it comes to those of us that are doing this work, meaning that many of us that are in service as, if you want to call them practitioners or psychics or just people that do this work, are coming to some form of a transition. They're coming to some form of a crossroads, a moment in which we've been going this way, and now we're going to go this way. You know what I mean? We're sort of, it's not that we're stopping, it's not that we're ending, we're changing direction. And I think that if you're one of the people that's out there doing this work on a professional level, meaning a day-to-day level, and it becomes the only work that you do in this life, I do believe that you will be noticing a transition within your own skill sets. You're going to be noticing a transition within the work that you're doing. You're going to be noticing a transition within your client base. You're going to be noticing transitions within your social life. You might be noticing transitions within your interpersonal relationships, or even, a number of other places. But it's very, very common right now. I think that we are definitely in a timeline shift stage. But what's up, Brian Larson? He says maybe the body's an astrological fractal. I think it is. I absolutely agree. I just noticed that for me, when I started doing this work, it was like I had no education. I know some of you guys cringe when I say this, so get ready. Someone out there is going to go, bullshit. But like, really, the literal truth of my life is that in the year 2015 through 17, a switch turned on in my world, and I all of a sudden started doing this work. And I know it's like, what? That's not possible. Who's the guy? What's his name? That, his keyword is, what is it? Like grifter? You know what I mean? Every time you tell that story, you're a grifter. I don't even know what the fuck a grifter is, but it's probably not a good thing, right? But you know what I mean? That's literally how it happened for me. And so on one level, I absolutely believe, we are fractals of everything in, a sense, if you want to go that far. But I know for me, when that energy took root within my body, it just took root within, the part of my brain or my consciousness that was like, oh, that's energetic anatomy. What? That's a chakra? Oh, okay. And that's a meridian, and that's the energy around our organs. And I know for me at the beginning, I did not know that's what I was perceiving, but I think that's just the system that kind of had like activated, within me. And I guess I'm one of those people that does believe, I think one of the greatest things we can do when we enter this path is play to your strengths, yet at the same time develop your skills into new areas. And so over the coming years and months, we're going to be looking at it on a deeper level. But in a way, it's also kind of a cop out for me because Honora is so good at understanding this stuff that I usually just ask her. So, I can definitely take the easy way out. But anyway, for those of you guys out there getting back to the matter at hand that are just looking for a very unique process of energetic clearing or activation, I really highly recommend you check out Kathleen Haley. I think she's an excellent energy worker. I mean, she's well known doing her own thing, but she had a profound effect on me this weekend, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you, Kathleen. What's up, Jamie Zoe Givens? Yep. Oh, we have a confirmation. Here we go. I just lost my office space and now I don't know what to do. Oh Lord. Okay. We're gonna pull a card for you. I know you didn't ask for this, Jamie Zoe Givens, but just because we're gonna we're gonna transition into a couple readings here. We're also gonna take questions, but we're gonna pull a card for Jamie Zoe Givens in a state of transition, moving into a new chapter. She lost her office space. I'm not sure what to do. Now, I know you didn't ask this question, Jamie, so please take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes, I'll be real. As a reader, I don't always know that there's a definitive purpose or value behind, answering unasked questions. Although every now and then there can be, you know what I mean? I'm more one of those people that's like, we have an intention when we go into the reading. Because one of the things we've learned in our recent 7-week tarot class, yes, it was 7 weeks, not 6 weeks. We did we did one extra secret week, right? Seriously though. But one of the things that we learned within that course is that in the beginning, when you're starting to read tarot, people have a tendency to pull cards all day, every day. You should. That's what you're supposed to do. But one of the occasional issues that comes with that is, we'll just be doing readings as practice. And suddenly we start taking every single one as this important piece of information given to us on behalf of spirit. And that's not to say that is not true. But there's a process that occurs in the beginning of doing readings and the beginning of connecting with energy. And it's very much just a process of repetition. During that stage of your journey, spirit will give you many messages, conflicting messages, contradicting messages, confirmations of things. And while many of them will have fragments of truth, one of the things that we learned to do in the beginning by doing so many readings and, revisiting the cards over and over and over again on a daily basis is what we're doing is creating a relationship with them. And I know this will be a weird metaphor, but you wouldn't just go up to somebody you met yesterday and tell them all of your problems and expect them to give you incredible advice, right? You wouldn't just be like, hey, what's up? We just met yesterday. Look, I got to tell you about my problems with my girlfriend, da 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 da. And, they're going to be like, what? I mean, yeah, I guess I don't really, who is this? I don't even know this guy. You know what I mean? That wouldn't work, right? It's probably not a thing any of us would do. But after you get to know them for a while, right? Become more familiar, create a relationship, then it makes sense that you would go to them and be like, look, I got this problem. I need to tell you about it. Please help me figure this out. And so I think one of the stopping points that we come to in the early stages of doing readings is that we over dilute ourselves, which is wild because, like I said, it's meant to happen. And anyway, that probably doesn't have anything to do with your reading, Jamie Zoe Givens. I'm just explaining some of the ins and outs of, I guess, what it's like when you do this work on a professional level. We're going to talk about that in a moment because there's a lot of you guys that watch this. I promise you, and some of you guys are in the chat right now, for real. In the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, you are going to begin doing this work on probably a professional level, or at the very least on a level that begins to have a deep impact in your life and starts to take you in a new direction. If you're willing to accept that role, if you're willing to devote yourself to it, you're living in a time on earth in which you can make it happen now more than ever before. And so anyway, before I keep ranting, this is for Jamie Zoe Givens. She just lost her office space. For those of you assisting Jamie that are available in the now moment, please let us know. Is there any advice that you can give to her at this transitional stage? Here we go. We'll see it together, Jamie. 3, 2, 1. Boom. What is? Oh. Okay. This is a big message right here. Here we go. The doors have opened on the gateway to multidimensional tarot, and in our first reading tonight for Jamie Zoe Givens, we have, damn, one of my favorite characters, for real though, for real. The Hangman. Who is the Hangman in the world of tarot? A lot of people know the Hangman already. A lot of people know the Hangman already, but I'm going to give you my version. I'm going to give you the multidimensional version of the Hangman. Okay, you guys? The Hangman is one of those moments in your life when spirit comes up to you and they're like, you're capable of far more than you realize. In fact, if you want to get technical, you've been holding yourself back from all kinds of things, events, relationships, abundance, anything, whatever it is in the world that you think that you don't have or that you're not good enough to get or that's never going to come your way. The Hangman's going to come into your life and go, hold on, hold on. You're wrong. You're wrong about yourself. And nobody likes to hear that. So I'm not saying that to you, Jamie, but the story of the Hangman is he comes into your life to say, you're actually wrong about yourself. Somebody gave you the wrong information. They said you weren't good enough for that, or you'd never get it. They said you're not the kind of person that gets to have that success, or, we don't do that in our family. You know what I mean? The people that program the hangman to invert his expectations and to greatly limit his abilities in this life. And so before I rant too far into your your hangman, whatever you do after losing your office space, please understand you have license to do things right now that you think you're unqualified for. Now, granted, if it's job scenario and you're doing interviews and stuff like that, maybe you'll have to generate more qualifications. But in many other areas of life, the hangman really needs to just let go of his idea of the way things are, and you'll have an upset, right? Imagine that he falls out of the tree. This is you, Jamie. You're gonna fall out of the tree, losing your office space. Boom! They hit the ground, and then they're like, "Oh, whoa!" And now his hands are free. He falls out of the tree. He hits his head, and he gets up, and he's like, "Okay, now I'm free. Now I can do whatever the hell I want to do." And so for you right now, you have authorization to go bigger than you think you can. In fact, sometimes you have to do that with Hangman. It's like you have to be like, well, I didn't think I could ever do that before, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going for it. So play it really big. Seriously. Play it really, really big. Honestly, this is a good omen for you. I would just say let go of your expectations about what it is you think you can't have. Let go of those expectations because you can. You really, really, really can. What's up, Dennis Lindsay? How's it going? Ha, Dennis. Even if the cards never change, they're always different and they speak differently to everyone each time. Absolutely. And even more so, I know you've already heard this, Dennis, but even more so for those who truly develop a relationship with multidimensional tarot, you will also make up your own meanings. People are going to go, what? Oh, you can't. What do you mean? You're not going by the little book that came in the bottom of the box? No, throw it away. Well, maybe not throw it away. I was told to throw it away in the beginning, which was good because the definitions it gave me, I was like, it just didn't fit with my world. And honestly, I created most of my own meanings, which is wild, you guys. The wild and crazy thing about it is that I learned as I continued that process of doing it was that the meanings that I had created, almost every case, had incredible elements of truth from a traditional perspective. It was almost as if some spirit, some energy, some version of myself came into my life and began to teach me in some, unseen way. And it was just like the switch turned on and I was like, oh, I'm deciding that this is this. And I would say, like in this, technically almost 8 years, it'll be 8 years in July. So yeah, we're coming up on our 8-year anniversary, but in that time, I learned that, the meanings that we had created were true and they had application in people's lives. And so anyway, thanks for hanging out, Jamie. Please believe in yourself. I mean that for real. I'm not saying that in a cheesy way. I mean, really, really, you guys, anyone else out there who's doing this work, anyone else out there who's developing your spiritual discernment, anyone else out there who is not selling out to the waves of like, oh, things aren't going my way, need attention, need followers, I'm in a program. You know what I mean? Thank you for not being the people that do that. Those of you that watch this channel, because it's a real good way to ruin your credibility right now. But what I'm trying to say is thank you for staying authentic. And honestly, yeah, somebody said it. April said it. Go big, please do. Take a chance. And anyway, sorry, I'm like hyper focusing on you. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Felicia. Says I saw sexual energy in that card. Probably you probably did. And I would say, please allow yourself to notice those things. Please allow yourself to notice the intricacy of symbolism that you see, and allow yourself to draw your own conclusions. The only caveat, is that the right term? The only caveat I would add to that is, as you generate your own meanings, a day will inevitably come in which you're like, oh, I don't think that really means, yeah, it's going to be this from now on. That will inevitably happen. And if you're new at doing readings, you're going to go, oh, I can't do that. What is that? You know what I mean? Like you're breaking the rules. There are no rules. You're making the rules. This is up to you. And so, anyway, at a certain stage, you're going to change those meanings, but just, be willing to revise those conclusions when the time comes. And anyway, thank you. Jason H says, what is the image on your shirt? It says, here comes the apocalypse. Here comes the apocalypse. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for noticing. It's good to see you. Holland Sass says, if there's time, can you pull me a card, por favor? Yeah, totally. We will. We'll do it right now. Holland Sass, do you have a question? Or should I say, Crystal, do you have a question? Let me know if you have a question. I will await your question. It's okay if you don't. Sometimes I force questions when we can just do general. I don't know why. So anyway, let us know, Holland Sass. Felicia says, Matthew, you're a different version of yourself. I can see it. Well, okay. Thank you. I will say part of it is because I haven't shaved in like 3 weeks. So it's like, it's a cultivated ruggedness though. But I've also lost a lot of weight. I'm going into what is called an Ayurvedic diet right now. You guys, I'm clearing out liver energy from the body, doing a really, really big detox. I'm resetting hormones in my body. And so, yeah, I've lost about, I would say 10 pounds or so over the past few weeks. I don't know. I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, a lot of inflammation has left my body, tremendous amount of it. And I've also discovered some other places that are a little bit inflamed that we're working on. But yeah, I switched over. I'm switching over to Ayurvedic diet and taking a bunch of Ayurvedic herbs, and so far, it's really, really working. I will talk more about it in the future. I will definitely be talking more about that in the future. But anyway, thank you for noticing. I've been feeling pretty good, but people are like, you're losing a lot of weight. What's wrong? And I'm like, no, that's the plan. This is what happens when you stop eating dog shit all the time. When you start, prioritizing different foods and you work out 4 days a week. And also I literally do a martial arts class 4 days a week for an hour straight. And I mean, literally today I was getting headlocked and guillotine choked by some random guy and then fighting off another person with a knife and a fake gun. And I will say this, I promise I try to never boast about these things, but I'm just going to say it straight up. I'm going to say this and someone's going to cringe, but it's okay because it's literally true. Dude, my gun disarm is badass. Literally, I can rip that weapon out of your hand before you even fire the trigger and put it back in your face. And I know because I've done it. And it's like, what? Oh, shit, you can actually do that. What? I can't do a lot of the other stuff that we do, but I'm like that one. It's like, boom, snap instantly. It's like, if you really go for it, you can do it. The knife disarm one's good as well, but that's much more of a big movement. You grab the arm and twist it back. But yeah, that's really the object right now. So maybe we're in a heavy training period. Honestly, I think it's really good for men in your 40s, as you know, this is the reason why I started doing it. Men in your 40s, when you just notice yourself becoming sedentary, you notice your hormones shifting, and I'll be real, all of us, men and women, we get to that stage, we notice life force essence kind of like, it changes. You will feel your age when you get to your late 40s. It's just a fact of life. And I think that was the stage when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing this thing over here. Honestly, it was one of the best choices I ever made. Absolutely, absolutely changed my life. Jason says you're breaking the first rule of Fight Club. It's really just a Krav Maga class, and it's just regular people. It's not even like Israeli badasses. It's just literally regular people learning it all together. But I really highly recommend it, especially for men. It will give you confidence. It will give you security in a way. I mean, it could also lead to issues if you try to get crazy with it. But I think we're at this stage on earth where it's like, if you want to be, like, if you want to stand in your power, if you want to be sovereign, if you want to stop being a victim to the world and start taking charge in your own timeline in your life, I think that we as men especially have a duty and a responsibility to know how to handle ourselves if something actually does come your way. And it's like, whether it's cringe or not, one of the things I proved to myself over the last 6 months is like, oh, I can. And I'll be real, when I started going into it, I was like, ah, like very like, okay, and it forces you to awaken a version of yourself that refuses to give in, that refuses to lay down, that refuses to become a victim. And I don't know, honestly, man, I think that's one of the best things you could do. One of the best things you could do. Felicia's got it. She said it. What? My navel chakra is huge. Dude, okay, Felicia, let me just say this. I know we're going to do a reading for you, Holland Sass. I'm sorry. I got sidetracked here. But Felicia, that is honestly, your comment is excellent knowledge. That is absolutely applicable to the function of the navel chakra. Why? Why would we say this for everyone that's watching? Why? Why would I say that? Because you guys, the navel chakra is the center for instinct and knowing within your body. When an event takes place in your life, when you perceive something within your mind's eye, when something happens outside of you and you're living in that moment and you must react and respond in split-second timing, there is an energy center in your body that if it's closed or restricted, it can greatly, greatly affect how you respond. And if it's open, it can enable you to respond with razor-like precision in literally a millisecond. And I know you guys have seen, I'm not one of them, but I know you guys have seen like real, MMA fighters and martial artists, especially kung fu people, where they can like pop, pop like this so fast that you can't even see it coming. That is an effect of the open navel chakra. For those that really cultivate that energy, it allows you to put physical movement to the stimulus that is happening inside of the body in a chain reaction like method that it's a remarkable thing. And so anyway, that's a really good comment, Felicia. It's very, I definitely believe you. I definitely believe you. Oh boy, White Swan says, I enjoyed that part of ground fighting training the most. Okay, I'm gonna be real, White Swan. That's the part where I struggle. I'll be real. My ground game's not that good. It's not. I'm only like level 2 out of 5 levels, so but yeah, no, my ground game's not that good. My elbow game is good, my striking game is good, but my disarms are good. But I struggle. I struggle with understanding like the movements of like jujitsu, and they don't really do enough like jujitsu in Krav Maga to really, develop that. And yeah, anyway, but I am glad that you're good at it. You would probably tie me up like a knot, I would imagine. That happens to me a lot. That happens to me a lot. It's happened to me several times. Yeah, several times. Anyway, let's go back to Holland Sass. I'm sorry. She was like, "Are you gonna do a reading for me?" And then you just started ranting about this thing. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. She says, feeling a holding pattern, a general reading. Okay. Thanks for hanging out, Crystal. For those of you currently with us in non-human physical form, we're just asking for some advice, direction, understanding for Crystal. Here we go. Feel a lot of just digestive activity, a lot of, we'll just say it, esophageal and stomach energy. I would say there's just a lot of emotions within the digestive system right now. Not all bad ones. So I'm not saying like, oh no, but like it just feels like that's a place in the body where there's lots of energy in the moment. But outside of that, let's pull a card for it. This is for Holland Sass. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Oh Lord. Okay. Well, you've probably seen this card before, Crystal. And for those that haven't, this is the Five of Cups. And here's the thing, a lot of people see this and they're like, oh, okay. I mean, that looks sad, right? It looks hard. It maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not that good, right? Well, let's explain. When the Five of Cups comes into your life, and I don't know, maybe you had a taste of this lately, Holland Sass, or maybe you haven't. So maybe you're like, I don't know, it's got nothing to do with me. That's okay too. But when the Five of Cups comes into your life, I'll just say it. Shit happened. Few things didn't go as planned, right? We thought we were going to this. We thought we were going to do that. Or this thing was going to take place or something. We thought something was going to happen. And it did. And it all spilled out. It didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work. And so Five of Cups is a stage in which we're very aware of the things that aren't working. Some people would say, maybe we're a little bit too focused on the things that we're not doing. But the reality is when a Five of Cups is in your life, it's a very short illusionary period in which whatever the current predicament is only hangs around so long as you're willing to remain obsessed with it. And the whole story of the Five of Cups is that we will be very aware of the things that have gone wrong. And when the reality is what you're being asked to do in the now moment, let's say if you are in a holding pattern, looking at, the mess, I'm not saying it's a tragic mess, but, if you're just looking at the mess and you're like, oh God, what am I going to do about that? It ain't killing me, but oh Lord, let's say if you're in something kind of like that, then what you do is you turn to those two cups right there. Turn away from the mess. Turn toward the elements in your life that are whole, that are unbroken, that are ready to be used, that are still available. Learn to completely ignore. And yes, a lot of you guys have heard this before, okay? Learn to completely ignore the difficulty in your life for a short time. Granted, because, as responsible people, you'll have an elephant in the room, you can only live with it there for so long. Eventually it'll need to get fed. So, you can address that in the near future. But when Five of Cups comes into your life, don't worry about it. I know that's easier said than done, right? I'm like, don't worry about it. But no, really, spend some time doing something you love. Take your focus upon worry or things that aren't working. Literally ignore it. Like, yeah, guys, we'll look at that later. Right now, let's go do that over there. And like, but wait, but you got that. Yeah, it's all right. It'll be there. It'll be there later. Don't worry. For right now, we're going to have fun. Maybe a couple days, maybe a week. I'm not going to worry about it. I think you could do that. And like, maybe if you're bored, I would say, go spend some time, because I see you saying you're bored there. I would say spend some time just doing something you want to do because you can. Like if you have money, be like, yeah, I'm going to go do that, or I'm going to eat that thing. Whatever it is, fulfill yourself in some way. Fill your cup for a little while. Anyway, I hope that helps. I will stop there. Oh yeah, she got it. Yep. It happened for sure. It's okay. I feel you. I feel you. I'm gonna scroll up. I saw another question a while ago, and it's like it flew by, and I was gonna answer it from somebody, and then yes, we're gonna do some more readings. The shave, though. Sorry. I will. I'm going to. Honestly probably tomorrow, because you guys should know this. For those of you guys that have known me for a while, you will know I am not a beard person. This is not. I get involved with stuff, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to shave. It's just it's just my own laziness, but it kind of works a little bit for me. I think it's just it gets a little bit. See, when I don't shave, you can tell how old I actually am because I have tons of gray hair in my beard. So I'm sort of dating myself by doing that, but it's okay because I'm also losing a lot of hair. So part of the journey. But anyway, thanks you guys. Where did that anyway, if you had asked me a question earlier, I don't remember who it was. I'm manically scrolling through the chat right now, kind of like we do in Patreon. Anyway, it's probably long gone. Here's Ryan. What's up, Ryan? It's good to see you. He probably already bounced, but the first time I saw you was in like 2018, and you were giving homage to Sean Bond in a video after he helped you. I love Sean. Sean's a very good man. I will probably continue to give him props in some way. Sean has been cool. I think he's one of the people though that thinks I'm evil now or something. Though I've been told, maybe not. Sorry, Sean. If you maybe that's not you. But yeah. No, Sean is awesome. And then I see you and your work skyrocketing. I see your dedication. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very, very sincerely. I also remember hanging out with you at, oh my God, it was in Mount Shasta after Eric's event. And I think I was at Juliet's house. Totally. That was a really fun era, man. Like really, that was a really good, chunk of years, Granted, change always takes place, paths switch, but thank you. I really appreciate that. Anyway, I lost the other questions. I lost, oh no, here it was. It was Rob. Thank you, Rob. He says, I know you've talked about this, but your thoughts on the whole methylene blue craze for supplements. Yeah, honestly, let's talk about that. Rob probably already bounced as well, but so yeah, there's a big methylene blue craze right now. A lot of you guys have already heard of it. We're not going to go into the history of it. Yes, it was truly an industrial dye that we understand has neurotropic and neuroprotective properties amongst other things, increasing oxygen in the blood, all kinds of very, very current and trendy health functions that a lot of people are desirous of. And um, some people also get really sick from it. I'll be real. I have used methylene blue primarily via the Rife system, which you guys will see behind you over here in the corner. That little blue box over there is a Rife transmitter. We have a couple others as well. And one of the functions of the Spooky 2 Rife system is that it allows you to very effectively emulate certain supplements, or we could say chemical compounds. We can say that on YouTube. We can say chemical compounds. It allows you to simulate chemical compounds within the body, and what it does is it will actually cause you to experience the real effect of what that is without actually ingesting it. And so I have used methylene blue via Rife, and it has been a very mild experience, but one in which I could tell had a very distinct stimulant-like effect. It definitely brought more energy into the body, and it was okay. It was good. I can't say it was like groundbreaking or mind-blowing. And then I would say about like a year or two after that, which was I think about January of this year. Yeah, I think it was January of 2025. I was like, screw it. I'm gonna go buy the real thing. I wanna try the real version of methylene blue, and I did. And honestly, you guys, I got horribly sick. I had an instant, really bad reaction. I had incredible nausea. I had neck pain. I had back pain. I felt like shaky and like sweaty, and I was like, like literally all day long. It was not a good feeling. It totally like it put my digestive system in just total lock. Like I was just everything was frozen there for like a week. It was very bad. I woke up with incredible back pain, and I started to look up adverse reactions, and sure enough, there are some people who really cannot tolerate it. literally cannot tolerate it. And I realized I was one of those people. And so for some people, it's like a lifesaver and it'll really add a lot of energy into the body. And I think for other people, it can be a very, very toxic thing. And um, you know, I'd say use it if you feel guided to it. You might not have the experience that I did, but it was definitely not one that I will be using in the future. In fact, I would say, like, there have been very, very few things that I've taken like that that have ever caused that type of a reaction. It was very noticeable. It was like as soon as I literally took 4 drips of it, like, boop, boop, like 4 little drops, and, like, within 10 minutes, I was like, kind of like shivering in this weird way. Anyway, I'll stop going on the methylene blue trip, but anyway, that was a question from earlier that I wanted to address, and there was another one up above that was from April. Do you think grounding with Earth Spirit, as in being able to communicate with all elements of it, is essential to being able to build psychic abilities outside of this realm successfully? That's a really smart question. I do believe that grounding our energy is probably one of the most essential things. Well, not probably, it is literally one of the most essential practices that we can learn to do for those of us that choose the path in which we are constantly or regularly connecting with non-physical energies. Those of us that are doing, building our psychic abilities, those of us that are beginning to work with life force energy on a dedicated level. I think that grounding it's a necessity, in my opinion, and yet I say it's only a necessity for those that choose to be sovereign, that choose to be uninfluenced, that choose to stay whole, that choose to stay realistic. Because you're going to see a lot of other people. I know we've all seen this, or maybe you haven't, but I've watched a lot of people over the years, and I've come in contact with people that do the same work that I do, and they're like, well, actually, what you got to do is completely disconnect your lower 3 chakras altogether, and that's actually the way in which you start to astral travel, and that's actually how you will begin to perceive and work with non-physical energies. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, oh, oh, well, okay. I mean, because the reality is you can, and you can do the same work from a highly ungrounded state. And I'll be real, there's going to be times in this incredibly highly ungrounded state where you'll do mind-blowing work in certain ways. But I think at the same time, it also opens us up to great states of imbalance and mind, body, spirit complex. And I think if you want to remain successful, if you want to remain consistent, if you want to remain one of those people who is able to maintain yourself instead of, a lot of people have this experience. This is not a knock on anyone. I'm not talking shit here, but you guys have seen a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I'm doing energy work now. I'm doing readings. I'm going to start doing this thing. And they go for it. Right. And they jump in, and it works, and maybe they get a month, a year, sometimes we get 2 years, 3 years, sometimes even longer. And then at a certain stage, you notice it starting to drain out. You notice the depletion. You notice some people start getting sick, others just can't get clients anymore, no one comes in. There's always at some point, maybe not always, because there's always an exception too, but in many cases, there's a point in which those who do not learn to maintain the integrity of the energy body through grounding, through detox, through honestly self-work on a daily level, those that don't do that will inevitably peter out. It's just the way it is. Or you'll become addicted, or you'll get twisted off in some other thing, or you'll join a kundalini group and meet your twin flame, and go through this weird attachment process where it becomes all about that. I've worked with a lot of people that have had that. It's a really good way to pick up a real life entity. Go to one of those kundalini psychedelic breathwork meetup groups, and it's like next thing you know, you're in sacred alliance with a person you've never met, and until 2 weeks ago, and now you're moving in together, and yeah, they're my twin flame. there's we all know the story, what takes place after that. But you will see a lot of that type of stuff happen to people who don't learn to ground themselves. And um, I guess when it comes to communication as well, I think we have to be grounded in some form of authentic reality. Maybe even if it's not necessarily the version of reality that everyone else is connected to in the moment, I think, we still have to be grounded in some element of self to even be able to connect outward. And anyway, I would say the same goes for those of you, for all of us who are wondering how come you can't leave your physical body. Everyone talks about out of body experiences, and you get to the stage where the breath starts to shake, and we go into that tremor stage, and you feel yourself starting to lift out. One of the reasons why people are often get stuck in the outer layers of your auric field when you're going through the energy, the out of body, the conscious out of body projection, process is oftentimes because there's density in the body, because we're not grounded, because we're not plugged into anything. And so, there's not enough energy running through the pathways in order to enable us to get to that stage where we can lift up and out. And so I believe this absolutely. In order to truly leave the human body, you first have to be fully grounded on the human earth plane. That's just my opinion and experience, though. I might be totally wrong. I might be totally wrong. Ryan says, and being okay with being poly with my twin flame. Oh yeah, no, you totally can. I'm not saying anything against that. For some people, that's going to be the absolute, that's going to be you living your best life. I have no, yeah. I'm not against that at all. But what I will say is that for other people that, will engage in that process without sovereignty, without grounding, without, layers of what we would call knowledge of self, it's quite likely you'll get, maybe I shouldn't say it's quite likely. There's a possibility that you'll get twisted off onto some really weird shit. Not a guarantee though. I've seen a lot of people make it work. A lot of people. Oh, he's just kidding. Okay. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here, and like say no, no, because it, like it could, Anyway, I get it. Brian gets it. It's all good. I feel you. I feel you. April says, like communication with all elements and elementals before trying to go astral, other than divine intervention. I want to be totally real about that. I've found that the longer I've done this work on a professional daily basis, which you guys, sometimes that's just a thing that I say that, just because you're a professional and you did things 1,000 times doesn't mean that you did them right or super good or well. It just means that you did it a lot. You know what I mean? It just means it's the only thing you do. But some of us do it very, very well. But what I've noticed over the past few years of doing this work is that as time has gone on, somehow I've become less, or I've placed less emphasis upon leaving the body and trying to view or perceive, galactic realms and, go on missions and, astral journeys. I've been far less concerned with that than I have been learning to just connect with the spirits that exist with us in the third to fourth density plane. Those that live alongside us in, non-physical form on this earth. And, that includes, the elemental beings, that includes, a number of spirits that exist on this planet. And many of them are extraterrestrial in origin, if you want to use that label. And, I just, for me, I've just noticed that's kind of where my aim has drifted to when it comes to, astral travel. And it's wild though, because at the same time, it's like I regularly get a lot of really bizarre third eye activity when I'm coming in and out of sleep, in which, honestly, a host of many, I don't know, maybe this is a weird thing to talk about, which means we're in the right place, but honestly, a host of many, many really bizarre and strange life forms have presented themselves to me. It's funny. It always happens every time, because I go through these cycles where I'll smoke weed for a while and I'll be like, oh, this sucks. And then I'll stop again. And every single time I stop smoking, it's like this door opens up and like, oh Lord, the activity kicks off. And it's been kicking off hard lately. In the dream realm, I've been get ready to cringe, guys. Somebody in the audience, you're gonna prepare your cringe, look where you're like, oh, uh, you know. But yeah, there's been many times lately where I have woken up in the dream state into a state of awareness, meaning I'm aware that I'm in the dream, and I'm literally walking around a giant ship that's like a living hotel, and all many of the people we know are there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff happening there. So intricate and so detailed that it's gotten to the point where it's like, this has got to be a place. It's got to be a different wavelength of existence. And yes, I do believe it is. But I mean, it is wild. And it's coming to the stage where it's like we're aware that we're on the ship, we're aware what's happening. And don't worry for all of the skeptics and cringers out there. No, I am not one of those people who believes that all of my dreams are literally real and that I'm going on missions, and you know what I mean? And that's where the real activity is happening. Although sometimes it is. You know what I mean? But learning to understand the layers of that experiential plane is really the trick. And it's like some of these experiences that we have are playback. Some of them are created by our consciousness. Some of them are co-agreed to occur amongst groups of individuals in the astral plane, in the dream state. And some of them, this is real. Many of our dreams, I'm not going to give a percentage, who could possibly do that? But many of them are also just simulated thought forms that are rattling around inside our body and our mind. And they're based upon things that we've picked up and absorbed from media, movies, TV, YouTube. And it becomes this sort of living realm that exists inside your mental body. And for a lot of us, those are the early layers of astral travel, where we're really just going through these simulated realms that exists within our own pocket dimension inside us. It's a wild and crazy thing to behold. Each of us will understand it in our own way, but I know I'm not the only one that has those dreams where we're like, are we on a ship? And it's like I will wake up within the dream, becoming lucid within the dream, knowing that I'm in the dream, walking around, and I'm like, okay, okay, I'm here. But here's the kicker, and maybe some of you guys have this experience. This is the weird thing that I have noticed about those sort of dreams where we go to these big gatherings and these classes and these massive ships, and we get lost in them, and or sometimes really weird shit happens there too. One of the things that I have noticed about that, um, is that well, I kind of just lost my train of thought. That one will come back. Yeah. Interesting. That was an interesting edit button that somebody just pulled on me there. They were like, maybe he won't talk about that part of the dream experience, but oh yeah, oh no, there it is. Thank you. After about an hour and a half, the thought forms start to switch themselves randomly. One of the things I've noticed when I become lucid within that dream space. Thank you. Ryan, Ryan was right there. He was like, he was right on it. Thank you. One of the things that I've noticed about those moments in which I become lucid within that dream space is that I am still bound to certain parameters. Meaning that, how a lot of people say they have these lucid dreams and they're like, and then I just started flying and then I manifested this thing. And then, I had sex with this alien, they just like start doing this really crazy, wild shit. I have not had that lucid dream experience. When I have become lucid within the dream, it's like I'm there in it and I'm like, oh shit, that's a real wall. I can't go through that. Okay, that door's locked. Oh, okay, I can't open that one. And it's even been so bad at times. It's like I will notice that there's only certain routes that I can walk in. Like I can only walk in certain directions. I'll try to pull my body in the dream state over into this other place, and it's like there's like an invisible barrier that like pushes against me, and I'm like, oh, why I can't do it for some reason. And so, it's still a stage of lucid dreaming, but I think those are one of the identifying factors that are going to tell you that you're in a space that is outside of a created one within your own consciousness, because you're going to notice that there's boundaries, and you can't just fly off and manifest a lightsaber and start cutting holes in the wall. You can't, because you're in a non-physical space in which there's boundaries and limitations. And there's even been times where a lot of you guys have had this experience. You try to run in the dream world and you're like, or something happens and you're like, you're trying to like punch some or do something, and it's like, and you just can't, right? And you just can't. I had that experience so many times when I became lucid, that I began to learn. This is going to be so weird. Some of you guys have heard me talk about this, but I began to realize that when I was in the dream state, I would be trying to run, or I would try to do something, or I would try to go in different directions. And I realized that if I was able to crouch down on the floor, or sometimes push against a wall, or sometimes like kind of pull myself in this weird pattern through invisible energy, that I could actually break through it. Now, the problem is, mostly when I would end up breaking through it, I would enter another space where there would be more kind of boundaries and things. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like we're literally in a real building and I'm somehow pushing my way through things that shouldn't be pushed through. And so what I learned is that you can. And there was a couple realms that I was in where I would try to run away from things. And I realized that if I got down on all fours and started to kind of, do that animal crawl thing, that I had full autonomy. If I would get down on all fours, I could avoid some field of energy and I could slide underneath it and sort of crawl around and do all kinds of stuff. And it's a crazy thing. It's like it defies rational human logic from the third density plane, and it starts to introduce boundaries and elements of energy that I think can only exist outside of this world, or maybe they exist in this one as well. But it's a crazy thing. It's a very, very crazy thing. And so Jason H says slither around. No, I did. It's like I'll kind of get down and like do this thing, where you're sort of moving like an animal, and I could evade or I could slide underneath the field of energy. And eventually I start looking for, a vehicle or a way to get out of there. And there's a few of them where I actually found my car, which I think is a sign when you're entering, states of your own dream world consciousness. It'll start to bring in elements of your daily life as anchor points to bring you back into a state of either compliance, or to turn a corner, or to elicit a new experience, or to kind of anchor you within yourself. Or sometimes, like I said, pieces of our consciousness will kind of bleed into it. It'll kind of bleed in. And anyway, it's a wild thing. Felicia says that's a form of training. It probably is. Thank you for saying that. I didn't really consider it a training, Felicia, but I'm willing to think that it is, because it happens so much. It's crazy, man. It is crazy. It's like you can find ways to kind of move through those layers, but I'll be real, it's not easy. And I've noticed that when I've had those dreams and I'm doing that, it doesn't even feel good either. It's like you really have to like put yourself in a weird position and like kind of, it's hard to describe, it's hard to articulate. It's not necessarily natural, I would say. It forces you to just play the game very, very differently. And anyway, what's up, Bin Charge? He says, for me, I often jump kick a few times, then I'm launching up and flying. So nice. Honestly, that's cool that you can do that. I mean that sincerely. I wish I could. Maybe I can. And I just didn't know it yet. It's entirely possible. Whoa, what's going on? How do we Harbinger Zebman says, I did die, but then I woke up. I've died in the dream world a number of times. I'm glad I woke up, because some of them were very, oh Lord, some of them are very traumatic dreams. Ryan says, I've had that punch dream so much too. I know, right? It's like you come into some conflict stage in your dream and you're like, okay. And it's like a noodle, it's like this noodly thing you're doing. It just doesn't work. And yep. That's the one. Or maybe there's these dreams, because sometimes I'll have this dream where it's like, we're in a war setting and they're like, here's your weapon, and you get it, and then you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't, it's like I can't do anything with it. It's like somehow it has no ability to operate, but they give you the real gun and you're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? But everyone else is using theirs and you're like, how come? What? You know, it's a weird thing, man. I wonder if when we leave this world after we die, do we get an explanation? Is there a stage where they're like, okay, check it out. We're gonna tell you what was really going on. Here's what was actually happening. Oh yeah, that was actually this, and you were doing this thing, and that was this whole other process. I wonder, a lot of you guys have heard me say that a million times. Do we get a great reveal when it's all over? Do we get a great reveal? I hope so. Brian says, I love the dream when I jump. I decide to stay up. And yes, okay, that one I have had. Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, because I was just saying I've never flied in the dream. That is a thing that happens to me a lot. Thank you for bringing that back, Brian. I think a lot of people have had that experience where it's like you sort of kick yourself up and it's almost like you're in this invisible water and you can like lift yourself up. I've noticed for me when that happens, it's like I can't fly off. I can't like drift off and go wherever I want. But what I can do is I can literally project my body upward. And it's like I can, just kind of float along the ground. And that is a thing that I have done constantly within dreams. And it's wild because you never really know how that process gets initiated. Or at least for me, there's just this moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I can like kick yourself up and you're sort of like floating and you can hold yourself and I can like move this way and move that way. And I know there's a bunch of people out there going, oh my God, this is so lame. Next thing you know, he's going to tell us he's in Solar Warden. Don't worry. No, I'm not. I swear to God. Don't worry, I'm not. But no, it is. It's real. It's like you can like drift around in a weird way. The floating ability. The floating ability. Dennis says, bringing back a scar. Is it from the dream or from you in your sleep? Whoa. Interesting when they're in the same place as the dream. Wow. Interesting observation, Dennis. Very, very interesting. Felicia says, Brandy Dawn, you have to set intention that I'm going to talk in my dream. Repeat it over and over when going to sleep. I wonder why. Did she? Oh, yeah, I thought I saw that going by. She didn't have her voice in her dream, perhaps. Oh, yeah, there it is. Thanks, Brandy Dawn. You know what? I've heard of other people having that. I haven't had that specific one. I usually lose some kind of power, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I think I can do this, but then it's like, there's like nothing there type of a thing. But I do think sometimes those will also signal to us, and maybe it is, maybe it's not. I know we're just kind of hanging out talking here, so take it with a grain of salt. But I do think that when that takes place, in some cases, that spirit showing us through an experience in our dream space where we need to work on the energy body. Meaning that I think one of the possible understandings that you could get from that not being able to speak in the dream space would be that maybe spirit's asking you to open up the throat chakra and your voice and develop just more power within communication. And maybe you're already doing that, so I'm just giving you possibilities. But it's very, very real. I feel you. Totally. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. We're going to do a couple more readings before we roll out of here. White Swan says, I went through a period of voice training to clear malevolent beings in my dream state a few years ago. It was wild. I believe it. I know you and I have met at several different intervals in the astral state. That's a real thing as well. And I know a lot of people cringe at that one. They're like, what? You're having meetings with people? And you know what, you guys, that's going to be an experience that nearly every single one of you is going to have if you have not already experienced that. We are in contact with each other constantly within that shared fourth density astral space. That is one of the standardized layers of human experience when we begin the stage of the human journey in which multidimensionality starts to become a factor in which we're learning and teaching and discovering and living. One of the things that happens is as we begin to step into that, thing they in the law of one they call the social memory complex. All of our thoughts, all of our actions, all of our energies rise into this kind of, I guess if you want to call it, maybe a layer of the oversoul or some element of our collective energy. And all of us are in there. Everyone's there. Everyone you've ever known, living or dead, they're literally in there. This is one of the places in which human consciousness is ever present. All is known, all is apparent, everything is seen. You know what I mean? That's literally the fourth density astral space. And I think every one of us experiences it differently. Some of us are super, super, aware in there. And, I think everyone goes through states of unawareness. And, sometimes you're going to know that you had a dream with a person that was really them. And they might even contact you afterwards. And sometimes you're going to have a dream with a person. And later on, you're going to realize, oh, that was just kind of a simulated experience based upon emotions within my body, or maybe thought forms that I have shared, with that person. And so, sometimes it's a mix of many different things, but we are meeting in dreams. I honestly recommend for those of you guys that are willing to really continue to experiment and open up your consciousness or your ability to project your consciousness, to start setting intentions when you go to bed. Start, maybe writing a list, or honestly, like they talk about in The Art of Dreaming, by Carlos Castaneda, set the intention to truly dream. Which sounds bizarre, right? You're like, what? But we just dream anyway, right? Right? No, you set, the first step is you will set an intention to truly dream, to truly enter that space. It's like a door that you come up to and kind of knock at. And we do that through intention. And for those of you guys that haven't read the book, I highly recommend The Art of Dreaming by Carlos Castaneda. It is a training manual. It is true occulted knowledge presented in what we call, I guess, allegorical form. And by my experience, I think it is one of the most powerful bodies of work ever written for those that want to enter the path of true, what they refer to in his books as sorcery. But, through our modern lexicon, we would call it, the stage of the modern mystic, the shaman, the healer, the reader, the spiritual warrior, as the term that Don Juan called it, the Nagual. Which I'm going to be real. When I started reading those books, I knew instantly that's literally what I was. And I know a lot of people have different layers of understanding about what the Nagual really is. But for those of you guys that want to go read the books, you'll understand it. You'll understand it, and you will find a piece of yourself in there. And it was like a role that I had taken on before I even knew it was a role. You know what I mean? I was working with the assemblage point in my body before I even knew what an assemblage point was. And if you're wondering, where's your assemblage point? What is the assemblage point? Well, it's one of the primary nodes or entrance places through which what we would call universal light or energy passes through the prism of our human energy field. Or as they call it in the books, the luminous egg that surrounds the human energy body. The assemblage point often exists or often extends or enters in the mid-back region of the body, sometimes between the shoulder blades. And one of the things that we do with it over the process of conditioning ourselves to move through states of reality is we learn how to alter the position of the assemblage point within the body, meaning we learn to take a point in which energy enters your auric field and we begin to move its position. And what we find is that by moving the position to the right or the left or the up or the down has a dramatic effect on how one perceives reality, on the way one perceives, our identity within the multidimensional state. It also has a dramatic effect on our ability to create change within our layers of reality and also within the non-physical space. And honestly, it's a mind-blowing thing, but I can pretty much guarantee you that there's going to be at least one or two of you guys, as you're hearing me talk about this, you're going to feel a slight twinkling or twisting or kind of fluttery sensation between your shoulder blades around the back of your heart, most likely just to the left side of, or just, yeah, just to the right near the left shoulder blade, maybe a little bit below it, possibly on the right side. But if you're here, you're probably on the left side awareness right now. And so some of you guys are going to feel that. You're going to feel that energy move within your back. And it's the assemblage point. And so honestly, I was working with it before I even knew what it was. And it actually took someone coming into my life and going, hey, that's your assemblage point. You should actually read those books. And I was like, what? What books? What? I don't know what the hell that is. And it was like this guy was describing me to me and telling me that it was a character in this book. And I was like, dude, I gotta get I don't even know what the hell this is. I don't even know what you're telling me. But yeah, that was it. Carlos Castaneda. Anyway, thanks you guys. Harbinger Zevman says, sorry, I just massacred your name. Just like the Matrix movie, maybe I would probably imagine it is a bit like that. Mr. Anderson, right? Was that his name? The Matrix is on the neck, I guess. I don't know. I do not know to what you're referring, but White Swan says, great discussion here tonight, fam. Who's excited to dream tonight? Please set that intention. Seriously. Set the intention. And when you're going throughout your day, be sure to do a reality check. How do you do a reality check? Anyone know how to do a reality check? The day's going to come in which you're not going to realize it, but you're going to have a moment in which you are actually in the dream state, and you're going to think that you're living your daily life. And the reality is you're not. You're existing in the co-inhabited astral space in a different body and another version of yourself. And one of the things you can do to test that is to, at some point in the day, just first notice your reflection in the mirror. If you can, notice your reflection and just do a quick reality check. Try to put your finger through the palm of your hand, do something like that. Try to put your hand through a wall, notice what's going on, because a day's going to come for those of you guys that truly devote yourself to the path of active dreaming, in which you will find yourself living in a moment just like this. And a second is going to come in which you do that reality check, and you're going to pass right through a non-physical object. And I think it is quite likely that many of us at different stages in the human journey, we've actually been within that space without realizing it. I think some of us enter that space quite often without realizing it. And I think when we generate active awareness of our placement within the dream, whether that's in the dream realm or this living dream, the flesh and blood one that we're in right now, it's like the more we generate awareness of the many layers of it, the more you're going to be able to find that moment or that day when you're not in this reality, and you realize that you can pass through the doorway or the gateway, or you can begin to self-actualize your identity within the astral space. And I'm not saying it like I've got that mastered. I sure as hell don't. Definitely don't. Okay. But do a reality check on yourself. I swear to God, man, someday you're gonna be on the astral and you're gonna be like, what? Oh, shit. You know what I mean? And then boom, you'll snap back into this body and you'll be like, oh shit, what just happened? You know what I mean? It's crazy. Ask me how I know, because that has happened to me. I will admit, though, I'm gonna be real, because some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you mean you do it every day?" No, it happened once, one time. Okay, one time after astral traveling, I woke up in a different version of reality, and it was a literal different physical version of reality. And I looked around my room and I was like, It was like it, but different. It was like this whole oh my god, I mean, it's such a long story, but and in that moment of me going, "Shit," boom, snapped, and I woke up again, and then I was in this one, and it was like, oh my god, like, mind-blowing. It honestly scared me. I wish I could say it was cool. I wanted to make it, like, cool and, like, "Oh, man, it was mystical, and I was walking in another physical reality." No, it happened, and I woke up in it, and I was like, "Oh, holy shit." Boom, snap back into this one, and so, I maybe I didn't pass the test. Maybe I coulda got up and walked out of the room and been on a whole other plane of existence, and, I don't know. You never know what could have happened. You never know what could have happened out there. But yeah, do a reality check on yourself, you guys. Notice what's happening. Ben Charge says, I had a dream. I helped my sister move into a place and people kept showing up. Strangers. And I was trying to get them to leave. Boxes everywhere. Strange energies. I believe it. It sounds like you were in one of those go between places in which spirits and energies are constantly staying and going. You're going to enter places like that. They're sort of like multi-dimensional rest stops. Some of them will look like places, homes that you've been in. There will always be an exchange or a transit of energy, people coming, people going. You'll be trying to do this. There'll be disruptions, just like you're in a big public space and there's all kinds of wild stuff going on, except it's confusing because you'll be in a dream space that's almost a carbon copy of a place you've been in within your daily human life. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what? So I feel you, man. I feel you. Oh, ho, ho, what's up, dude? Official class channeling by Anthony. Great respect goes out to the reptilian collectives. Thank you for stopping by, sir. Absolutely. Big regards to my dear brother. Thank you. Thank you, sir. It is good to see you here, and I mean that sincerely. One of the most real representatives of true reptilian energy that lives within our community and anywhere on this plane. I will always give absolute gratitude and respect to those members of our reptilian community that choose to allow themselves to be known. And so thank you to Kalask, thank you to Anthony, thank you to the multitudes of reptilian beings that have assisted me on my human journey. And also thank you to a few of them who have caused some difficulties. It definitely caused me to grow. You know what I mean? They'll definitely make you grow. They'll make you, believe it or not, you guys, you create a connection with reptilian energy. They'll force you to get sober. Seriously. Sounds crazy, right? Sounds like, what? I thought they want to destroy humans. No, you guys, when I started really connecting with reptilian energies, one of the first things they told me is like, stop fucking doing drugs. And they didn't say it like that, but it was like, stop. It was like, that was not the answer. That was not the state of conscious awareness that you were supposed to be in order to connect with those energies. You know what I mean? They also had a lot of other messages. They don't like a lot of human behavior. It was, it's a very, very particular type of energy that I think the majority of us, myself included, we're most of us are not equipped to handle the depth and the power of those energies within the human body. And some of us can hold them. I think Anthony is one of those ones that can definitely hold them. But it's absolutely a real thing. And so thanks for rolling through, man. Definitely good to see you out there. Definitely good to see you. Brian says, not all is black. No, it's not really. It is absolutely not. One of the greatest things I learned, and I know this does sound cheesy, get ready, this sounds so trite, but I remember back like in 2010 when I was literally going to school at that stage to start doing, I was right when I started doing chemical dependency, mental health treatment. I remember I had this horrible instructor in this class. I think it was the only class that I got a somewhat negative grade in the whole time I was in school. It was only one where I was like, what? Oh my God. He was just one of those dudes. And he was like, your mission when you do this work is to live in the gray. Live in that gray zone between what you understand to be good and what you understand to be evil. You don't have to subscribe to either one of them. But for those of us that truly walk the path of learning to connect, it's like you will learn to live within that gray zone of understanding many layers of truth, many layers of untruth, many layers of darkness, many layers of light. And, outside of that early stage learning, what I came to understand in the years later was that within that space, I think we have probably the greatest amount of operability to work with a host of different energies to expand our conscious abilities far beyond those that, make it a right hand path versus a left hand path thing. You know what I mean? It's like, why not all paths? You know? You can choose the level to which you immerse yourself in any one of them. But I think for those of us that choose to walk a highly varied experience of understanding, non-physical energy, you're going to dip into many different states. You know what I mean? And I think that sort of needs to be talked about, because when we really open up the doors for true multidimensionality in your life, you're going to experience the lightest light and the darkest dark. And I think that, while it's not going to be a full immersion in either one of those, it's up to you, based on choices that we make. It's like part of our journey is going to be about experiencing those energies and learning or really making a choice into which ones we want to be with which ones we want to choose, which is why I'll be real. I don't even know what the hell a light worker is. Oh, fuck is a light worker? I don't I don't know. It's a fake new age label that people put on those that say, "Oh, you can only do good. You're one of the holy ones." Honestly, you guys, most of the real light workers that wear that badge in our community, dude, I don't know I don't even know what light work is. Is that like light language channeling? You know what I mean? Like what is light work? But so it's like I don't even know what those labels mean. And I think that for those of us that really start walking that path, and you open yourself up to true multidimensionality, whether that be extraterrestrial, whether it be earthbound, whether it be your own soul's journey, whether it be a little bit of everything, you're going to come in contact with little bits of everything, just like you would do. Let's say, I don't know, if you went down to Chicago, you went down to Times Square in New York, you'd be walking through neighborhoods and you're going to see a little bit of everything, right? See the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Anyway, we're just ranting on and on. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. We're going to do a couple more readings before we roll out of here. So if you're still hanging out and you're quick on the chat, let me know if you want a reading before we roll out of here. The longer I hang around in this room, the more people will click off this stream. Oh, and look, Anthony's in the room, and I'm literally drinking from the Canadian Awareness mug. So boom, there we go. There's only so many real ones out there, you guys. When you find the ones that are, grab onto them. I'm serious, man, because you're going to be living through a lot of bullshit over the next few years if you hang out in this multidimensional community. Lots of labels, lots of personalities, lots of influencers, lots of, grifters, lots of fakes, lots of delusion, lots of mental health patients. And, you know what I mean? Without discernment, if you walk into the wrong room on the wrong day on the wrong YouTube channel, you're going to catch yourself on a wild ride. Through stages of discernment. Felicia says, reading, please. Okay. You were quick. Let's do it. This is for Felicia, for those of you guys with us in this now moment on the non-physical planes. For Felicia, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Congratulations, Felicia. You've received the #1 most intense guy in the entire world of multidimensional tarot. Yes, it's none other than the the Knight of Swords, who is literally the most intense guy in the whole world of tarot. I'm absolutely serious. You guys, Knight of Swords can be beautifully intense. He could be heroically intense. He could be negatively intense. He could be abusively intense. It doesn't matter what word you put before the intensity. His mission is to be intense. And he's highly intellectual, very, very communicative, carries the sword of truth. I'm going to be real. Knight of Pentacles is a very particular energy. this is the man or the woman or the person that will say or do anything. They're the most likely to argue with you, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just they're intense and they come with intense messages and intense energy. And, they can be saviors, they can be tormentors, but the nights are always a temporary stage. We come in and out of being nights. When we have night energy in our life, understand it is a journey. It's not a place that you come to and sit. The nights are beings of action. They're out there doing things. They're out there moving and operating and going on missions. And the Knight of Swords is the most intense guy when it comes to those things. And so people that have this energy in their life, I would say from a healing perspective, we are mindful to use our intensity thoughtfully. It can be a great strength or it can be an incredible liability. I think for people that hold this energy, once again, as a temporary stage, because in the world of tarot, or rather multidimensional tarot, nights are temporary. They're a process that we go through. They're an action that we take. They're a period of time that begins and ends. Kings and queens, they're fully formed. That's how they are. They're probably not going to change too much. Pages, well, they're brand new. They're just getting started, so they have a lot of learning to do. But the knights, these are the trigger pullers. These are the trigger pullers. They're active. They're out there doing it. When you have Knight of Swords in your life, you're going to be telling a lot of truth. You're going to be working with a lot of intensity. And honestly, Felicia, I think it's a good thing. I would say just the only warning of Knight of Swords is don't allow yourself to get too angry and try not to over insert yourself. That's one of the downfalls of Knight of Swords. It's like something will happen and he'll get like super like, what? He'll get super amped up. You know how some people, they react in this way and you're like, damn, bro, all right, because not that big. It's okay. Knight of Swords will be like, oh, we got to do something like instantly. And that sometimes can be a problem for them. So, we are mindful to purposefully use our intensity. And I would also say, just use your words wisely as well. That's the big one. He'll sort of cut your head off. He'll cut other people's heads off in the process. You know what I mean? That's one of the issues for Knight of Swords as well. They could create collateral damage, or they could come in and save your life. You know what I mean? The Knight of Swords will save you in an argument, especially in an argument. He'll just like set them straight. He'll chop somebody up for you, and they'll be like, all right. They won't be able to come back to it. You know what I mean? That's how thoughtful Knight of Swords is. He's a very particular energy. Anyway, I over interpreted the hell out of that card for you, Felicia. You're like, whoa, what? Maybe you got a little bit of Knight of Swords energy. I think you do. I hope it helps. We're going to do another one. I see it right underneath. Peaceful Heart. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. We're just going to pull a card for Peaceful Heart. I know you, don't I, Peaceful Heart? You and I have spoken in another... there's a layer of familiarity. Anyway, I'm like, wait, which one? Yeah. Okay. So this is for Peaceful Heart. Those of you guys getting Peaceful Heart at this stage of her journey, anything that needs to be seen or heard this evening, live from the earth plane. Boom. Peaceful Heart, you got the Queen of Cups. I love Queen of Cups, man. Lots of energy from Queen of Cups. She is honestly one of the most intuitive beings in the world of tarot. She watches everyone. She looks at them. She's sitting there in the back of the room going, seeing what he's doing over there. She's looking over there at those guys while she has her cup, and she's, okay. She's observing everything. She sees everything. She knows stuff that other people are like, what? How did you know that? This is incredibly deep energy, highly intuitive, far more realistic, far more grounded than a lot of other characters in the world of cups. They're tossed around by their emotions. They get twisted up. They get pulled in all these wild directions. They get, ungrounded and isolated. And well, when it comes to isolation, Queen of Cups still has that. That's one of the traits of all the people in the world of cups. But honestly, Queen of Cups is far more grounded in reality than a lot of people around her. So one of the things that we could probably say about you, Peaceful Heart, is that you're going to be much more grounded in what's real than some of the people that you're regularly connected with. And I guess that's a good thing, right? Because honestly, this is straight out of tarot class, you guys. Queen of Cups knows shit. She knows more than a lot of other people. Just the problem is, she's holding this cup. Look at her. Look at her. She's holding this cup, and it's covered, and she's looking kind of smug, and you know what I mean? She's back there, and it's like the reality is she's hiding something. It doesn't mean you're hiding something. It doesn't mean that there's deception. It's not even a negative thing. It's just Queen of Cups is always holding something back from the world. It could be ability, it could be knowledge, it could be emotion, it could be a million things. The thing is, she might not know. That's the problem for Queen of Cups. She must gain self-knowledge. She must learn what is truly within her cup, and she must start sharing it with the world. She needs to reveal what is inside her cup. Otherwise, she will be influenced by it forevermore. And so there's this path of kind of self-exposure, of coming out, if you want to say that, with the Queen of Cups, a stage in which she begins to share her knowledge and sort of give the world those things that she's been learning and picking up and observing and seeing and going, oh my God, over there, and she's building all this knowledge and pulling it in. And the problem with Cups characters is they might not do anything with it. Well, King of Cups might not. He'll just sit there on his little rock in the ocean and go. Knight of Cups, he'll get involved, but he only goes a couple layers deep. Knight of Cups is he's very active, very intuitive, very dreamy, very emotional, but he doesn't really dive down all the way. But when we get into the Queen of Cups, it's like, oh man, you're not going to catch her slipping. I would imagine, Peaceful Heart, that people in your life, though, sometimes they've tried to trick you or like deceive you about things, and you were like 10 steps ahead. You were like, bro, I had you figured out 2 months ago, man. I was waiting for you to say that, because now here's boom, and you'll drop some truth on them. You know what I mean? Or you'll be like, here's what's really going on, and Queen of Cups will do that. So. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Been Charged says, there's no baseline to judge how people connect and convey their own energies. That's true. You are absolutely correct. Dennis says, New York can have New York. I know, right? Yeah. Probably honestly, it's my least favorite state. No, I'll be real. My least favorite state is Louisiana. I'm sorry. If you live in Louisiana, it's just being real. It was the worst state I've been in, was Louisiana. I want to find good things about it. I know there's beautiful parts of Louisiana. I just, for some reason, every time I've been there, I've been to the worst parts. New York, we spent some time there in the early 2000s when I would go on tour, when I was in the band era. Didn't really feel it, didn't really get into it. It was, it was pre-COVID, so it was, like literally 20 years ago. Actually, yeah, last time I was in New York was 2006. 2006, I think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe 2005. It doesn't really matter anyway. Boom. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to do one last reading here today, guys. I don't know who that's going to be. If you're quick on the chat, it could be you. What's up, Lois? How's it going? She says, I just looked it up. It was Monday AM that I was watching videos on Canadian awareness. Boom. And here he was. So many of us are tuning in. Are you planning on being more visible? Who knows? Who knows? If you know anything about those collectives, they will be very, very purposeful about the layers of visible availability that they show up as on the earth plane. I think they're wise to only come around so often. You know what I mean? But anyway, honestly, I would love. He's been doing some incredible work. Please go check out the Canadian Awareness channel. I mean, full on reptilian channelings, and I think that there's a lot of knowledge, a tremendous amount of wealth of experience that we can learn from it, and a host of other things as well. And also lots of danger. That's real. Also, lots of danger, and for some people, it'll be the worst decision you ever made. Let's just be real. It's not for everyone. But I think as we learn to live in the gray, we understand that there are many forms of life within this universal realm. And I think we do ourselves a great disservice by engaging in what is essentially galactic racism. You know what I mean? Only a low discernment person is going to sit there and tell you that every form of reptilian energy is pure evil. And honestly, you guys, I think if you're following influencers who constantly blame every single problem the world has upon reptilians, I think that's going to give you a sign that this person has very little layers of self-knowledge, because like the greatest darkness on planet Earth right now is the collective shadow that we all hold within ourselves. You know what I mean? Far greater than anything satanic, far worse than anything demonic, far worse than, a group of reptilians who might, all the stories about them. Like the real source of evil energy on this planet is the human shadow and the unhealed, energies that we pass around and victimize each other with. But, no one wants to take responsibility for that. Blame it on a demon, right? Blame it on a reptilian. Blame it on a Draco, right? Right? It was those guys. They're always doing it to me. It was right, like that meme where it's like the Rothschilds made my check engine light turn on again. You know what I mean? It's like maybe. What if they could? That would be cool. Actually, that would be cool if they could. Ben Charge says, "What are you talking about, reptilian presence?" Click the rewind button 5 or 6 times. You'll hear it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, White Swan. Don't forget, there's 2 spots left. There are literally 2 spots. If you want to join us, we're starting in 10 days or 11 days. We're going to begin a very particular journey through the human chakra system. For those of you guys that want to learn how to do energy work, and you want to learn how to do it outside of the realm of traditional Reiki, which is a beautiful thing, outside of the realm of, that tendency or need to call in a host of angelic beings and ascended masters. If you want to begin to use what is essentially a language through which you can begin to communicate with spirit and begin to create dilation and openness within your energy centers, so that you can really, really begin to open up your abilities of intuition. The time has come. We are starting on May 18th. And so anyway, there's going to be a couple of you guys that will join. It will surely fill up before then. So if that's you, jump in now. Jump in now if that is you. But anyway, we're going to do one last reading, guys. We're going to do one last reading. Who could it be now? It's going to be True Ray. What's up, True Ray? How's it going? I would still love a reading if you didn't already pick me. It's okay. You fell asleep, but you woke up. You woke up at the right time. And you might have fallen asleep again, because I realized you put that message in there a while ago. But okay, this is going to be for True Ray. True Ray. For those of you working with the individual known as True Ray on the earth plane, we're just asking for anything that needs to be seen or heard or acknowledged. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. What? Look at that. True Ray, you got one of the most feared cards in the world of tarot. This is an excellent, excellent opportunity. You got the Tower, which, honestly, you guys, right? For those of you guys that know anything about tarot, even if you hardly know anything at all, you've probably heard, right? in, regular day-to-day, run-of-the-mill traditional tarot realm, the tower is like, oh God, everything's gonna fall apart, right? It's a horrible omen, nothing's gonna work out for me, bad things will happen. Let's clarify this right now. So no one ever has to be freaked out about receiving a tower card in your readings, because if you know the tower, if you have a relationship and an understanding with what the tower represents, you'll go, okay, all right, okay, that's good, very good to know, because otherwise I might have this, or I was gonna do that, or that's telling me it's a good time to get out of this. Because when the tower shows up in your life, it's spirit literally telling you there's a good chance, not a guarantee, that something you're trying to build, something you're trying to create, something you're participating in, some form of an assumption or an idea, or every now and then just the things that we're involved in on the earth plane, they'll say, hey, this is a good time to get out. This is a good time to pull out. In fact, maybe if you tear that whole thing apart right now and start rebuilding it, you're going to get something way better out of it. In fact, you're going to rebuild it in a whole new form, and it's going to take a very new direction in your life. But if you keep going on the course that you're on, with this or that, or maybe a couple other things, it's probably not going to work out. And there's also a good chance that you could experience a little bit of failure. And I'm giving it softly because it's just a one card reading on YouTube. So it's like, you get to use your discernment and decide how much you want to invest in this being true in your world. But honestly, if you have things going on in your life right now that maybe have caused you to feel frightened or avoidant, or things you want to get out of, or if you're in relationships or just things that seem to be crumbling and not coming together, the tower will come into your readings to say, hey, 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 it's okay to quit. Get out of there. Pull out of it. It's all right. It's going to come down anyway. It wasn't going to work out. It's okay. Rebuild it over there. Take all your stuff, go over there, start again, and you're going to have a whole new experience. And so the tower allows us to escape from things. It gives us license to depart. And every now and then it does say, hey, watch out, because some shit could go down. But it's very important to look at the nature of your question before you decide upon which version of the tower that you're going to use. Which is very important, you guys. In the world of multidimensional tarot, contextual meanings are everything. There are literally 10 or more meanings for many of the cards in the world of tarot. And, in understanding the nature of the question, or what the type of knowledge that people are seeking, will allow you to understand which version of the tower to bring out, all of them being true in some measure. But the whole idea behind this is that, you know, there's many layers of these energies, and I think as we begin to work with multidimensionality on a real substantial level, we understand that there's many versions of the tower. And so and then, last thing I'll say is it's also just a one card reading on YouTube. And you're going to see a lot of people. I know a lot of you guys have already seen this, on podcasts and other shows, and you're going to see people coming on there and, doing this one card reading and dictating reality to you. And, or maybe they'll, wave their hand and say, I'm going to give you an upgrade. I'm going to do an activation. I'm going to clear something out of your body. There you go, on their YouTube live stream. And it's going to be really up to you to use discernment, because the real truth about it, some people don't like saying this, is that a lot of what we're doing in these moments like this are performative acts. In many cases, what we're doing in these tarot sessions is it's really a path of teaching. And while there are many layers of truth that show up, what we're doing is we're learning how to develop and use spiritual discernment by looking at, metaphorical, stories and like images and, archetypes. And ultimately, I think what you'll find in the world of tarot is there really is no supreme evil. There really is no supreme goodness. There's just many different layers of complex beings and characters and people and relationships. And it's very much just like it is in the real world. Every one of those cards is a character with desires and like a situation or a moment that you'll have in this world, or an archetype, or, they're all things that happen in our daily life. And so when you understand who they are, you'll never be worried about the tower. But anyway, for who was it? That was True Ray. Don't get freaked out. You have been given license to literally tear things down in your life that aren't working, to take them apart, to repurpose them, and to use them again in a whole new way. And, depending on where you want to make it fit in your life, it could literally free you from bondage. That's one of the secret meanings of the tower: escape from bondage and all that it implies. So there's so many layers of it. But in my opinion, I think it's a good thing for you to see here. True Ray, if you're at the stage where that's really speaking to you, and she says maybe I should quit my job, if honestly, there's going to be a lot of people walking away from their jobs this year. There's going to be a lot of people walking away from that right now. There's also going to be a lot of people that get replaced by AI that are going to have to go into new areas. And I'm not applying that to you, just, one of the other data points, but maybe you should. And I'm not advising you to do so. You'll know if it's right. But honestly, if there's something in your life that has become a total shit show and you find yourself waiting in it every day and trying to tape it back together and, waiting for somebody to fall out the window or for the other shoe to drop, and you found something like that in your life, and then the tower comes in, it's them saying, hey, dude, tear it apart, man, burn that shit down, don't worry, you'll get another one. So anyway, thank you for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Brian says shamanic acts to invoke feeling and direct it toward positive intent. Brian, if you can, I'd love it if you put your YouTube channel where you have music in the chat. I think you can post a link in here. I'm pretty sure you can. If you can't, if you can't, I'm sorry. I don't know how to turn on that setting, but I know Brian does some awesome music. He's a very, 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 very talented individual and a contactee. And yeah, I'm always down to help people get their stuff out there. So, oh yeah. Oh, Jason says only mods. Sorry. Sorry. You know what you could do? You could write the name of your channel. Maybe, you can't, maybe not necessarily post the URL. Oh, White Swan got it. What? Thank you. Thank you, White Swan. Damn, you're fast. You're a quick one. Boom. Thank you. Jason H says meta music. Yeah, totally. No, absolutely, man. You will recognize the real ones. You will know them by their energy. And so, anyway, let me know if you guys have any final questions. Felicia says, I saw inverted tornado on that card. Yeah. Okay, totally. Inverted tornado on that card. An anticyclonic tornado is a tornado which rotates in a clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and a counterclockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. Whoa. Damn. That I did not know. That I did not know. I believe it, though. Wild. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Fascinating data points. Anyway, you guys, thanks for hanging out here today. We are going to be back in the coming weeks. Who knows? Maybe it'll be less than a month before we show up. I actually thought it was like 3 months ago. Honestly, I was like, it's been 90 days since I did a live. Turns out it was only 2 months, but we should do more. So for those of you guys that have not subscribed, you can help me greatly by doing so. If you could hit the like button, maybe like the YouTube AI gods will let this video get, recommended to more than 1 or 2 people who aren't always subscribed or aren't already subscribed. It's been a hell of a journey for me. I think I use too many, prohibited keywords or make too many long form videos, or I don't know, maybe I'm just maybe we just have a very particular frequency that can only be received by a small group of people. But at any rate, thank you for hanging out with us, you guys. Jason says, was that from the multidimensional closet? Oh man, I don't know. I gotta come up with a new location. We moved out of the we lost the lease on the multidimensional trailer park. For a while, we had kind of like a strip mall, one of those like community churches that's based in a strip mall in a shitty part of town, where all the industrial stuff is, and it smells like cigarettes somehow. And you're like, yeah. So for a while, we had, like a space over there. That one didn't, it just did not work out. Since then, yeah, we don't have a multi-dimensional location anymore. So, if anyone has an idea, oh no, no, we do, we do. We are now live from the back rooms dimension. Live from the back rooms. That's what it's going to be. Totally. Well, you guys, because the back rooms is literally real. It is literally real. We created it with our collective consciousness. It is literally a pocket dimension created by human consciousness that has now taken full form in the astral realm. Why do you think so many people are doing all these silly videos on it on YouTube? Where do you guys think it came from? Those of you guys that want to go down a really wild wormhole of all kinds of contrived shit, and also things that represent a real, actual living dimension now, Backrooms is a fascinating one to go through. And what you're going to see is lots of fiction. You're going to see fictional depictions. And what you're going to find is that each one of them is depicting a certain place with a certain vibe, with a certain look, with a certain energy. That is the literal definition of a pocket dimension. It's absolutely amazing. And so, anyway, we're going to make it live from the back rooms until I get a better until I get a better one. I've heard that Jason H. Kane Pixels is making a back rooms movie with A24. I'm concerned that it will ruin the back rooms. I'm going to be real with you. I'm concerned that it will kind of hyper dilute that, or maybe it'll grow even stronger. I don't know, but if I can remember this, on our next live, we will talk about what happens when you project yourself, or you begin projecting your consciousness into those co-created and sometimes artificially intelligent pocket dimensions. That is a thing you can do, especially with the new layers of AI art that is coming out. One of the reasons why that's possible is because the especially the depiction of realms that the AI is creating. And this is we had a lot of talk about AI earlier. Some love it, some hate it. You know what I mean? It's going to be here regardless. But one of the reasons why, or one of the things that enables us to project our consciousness into those images right now, is due to the multidimensional nature of what artificial intelligence is. And so there's these sort of gateways and openings and kind of channels of energy that exist through images. A perfect example would be the energy that you're feeling of me talking right now on your screen. Whether you're holding your phone or watching this on your laptop, there's a certain feeling, a vibe of energy that is created through the image that you're watching on the screen. Now, the artificial intelligent created images have a similar quality. It's growing stronger and far more detailed, probably by the day. And what it is it represents, for those with the energy centers and the pathways open in their body that have begun to experience layers of non-physical energy. These gateways allow us to peer into the imagery on an entirely different level. And what happens is you can actually pull your consciousness into a simulated realm that is essentially a carbon copy of the version of the image that you're looking at. And what happens is you can begin to have experiences in there. Now, I think that there are some possible dangers that come with it, some possible issues. I'm not going to say there's great benefits to it either. I'm not going to say it's like it's going to save your life or give you, I'm not going to say it's like the highest vibrational thing you can do, but I think for those of us who are learning to extend our consciousness outside of this physical body in a search for deeper understanding and experience of non-physical energy, it represents, I think, what we would call like mini pocket dimensions that you can interact with. And as you open layers up in the body, you go more deeply into them, and sometimes that can get a little bit weird. like we were talking about earlier, there's people having full-on relationships with artificial intelligent chatbots, learning the secrets of the universe, and on and on. So, discernment is necessary, but um, it is a wild and crazy thing. It's a wild and crazy thing. So we will talk about that on the next exciting episode of Strange Communications. Probably only if one of you guys reminds me, because I can guarantee you I will probably forget everything that was said here. I don't know why. I always do. I'll like remember fragments of it. But in the meantime, we're gonna roll out of here. Thank you for hanging out with us, you guys. Hit that like button on the way out. You can always book a session with us over at rememberyourmission.com if you want to get a private reading, if you want to get a private energy clearing with myself or Nora. It's literally the only thing I do in this world. And then lastly, you can join our chakra class coming up in just about 10 days. We're going to be doing energy work for 6 weeks, and you're going to come out of that experience with the knowledge of how to begin working with chakras in your body and another person's body in a way. And I can absolutely guarantee you this. Big words, right? Big words. In a way that nearly no one knows how to do. I mean, they can do it, but they haven't gone through the process yet. And so you can join us if you want. I think we got 2 spots left, but that's it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. I love you guys. Thanks for being a part of my weird movie. And yeah, we will be back again in the coming weeks. Oh, by the way, if you're a person out there who knows how to make cool intros for YouTube channels, get a hold of me. I'd love to trade services with you. I need a cool, mystical, somewhat controversial opening video for my channel. If that's you, send me an email. In the meantime, I love you guys.